Oh, welcome to Thunder Nerds. I'm Brian Hinton.
Oh, I'm Janelle Pizarro.
Where's
Hi.
Janelle?
Hi, I totally forgot my name. I was like, wait, I have a name? Is that like a thing?
And that's Janelle Pizarro. And I'm Frederick Philip von Weiss. And you are consuming the Thunder Nerds, a conversation with the people behind the technology that love what they do.
And do tech good.
Wow, we forgot a name, y'all. Who am I? Where am I?
I'm done.
This is other guy that's here. There's another guy here. Who's this?
Oh, that guy? Let's go ahead and introduce our guest and get him on here and see if he remembers his name. Let's welcome professional problem solver and senior product designer, Joel Califa. Welcome, Joel.
Khalifa.
Khalifa, yeah.
We went over this.
Horrible at names, Joel. I apologize profusely. Profusely. We're doing pretty good on names so far. We forgot a name. I can't pronounce a name. We're just rolling the ball. How's it going, man?
It's going well.
See, you thought you would be the one that would goof up.
I did, yeah. I feel way better now. I feel more at ease, for sure.
That was the plan all along. That's why Janelle.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I do that every time just to make the guests feel a little bit more comfortable, Joel.
Thank you very much. It worked.
And I'm gonna say I apologize, guys. I'm home alone right now. Rachel's gone, and I have two dogs in the room with me, and they're gonna clickety clack every once in a while. So
all good, Macaulay Culkin. Yeah, don't worry about it.
Oh, Joel,
first things first. How come you're not upside down? I don't get it. What's going on?
Yeah.
Oh, I turned my camera just so it would make more sense. I am actually upside down right now.
You're blowing my mind, Joel. That's a little bit too meta for me. For those in our audience who might not have saw Joel's website, Joel is upside down usually. Can you explain that, Joel?
Yeah, it's really a boring explanation, but
love to hear it.
That's the way it looks.
You're selling it. Go ahead, Joel.
It started right side up, and I got bored of it, and I turned it to the side, and so it was poking out of the side for a bit. And it just made more sense with the website that way, so I just kept it that way forever.
All right, everybody, that was our guest, Joel.
That's done. Yeah.
Didn't someone actually? I think I remember a time where someone actually completely ripped off that, and like it looked exactly the same. It was upside down and everything. Like someone took your portfolio and did that.
Oh my god!
Well, I have like copyrighted the idea of anyone being upside down, so that would be really upsetting to me.
Man, I don't know how you did that. That's amazing.
I'm sure you're pretty upset about that Netflix show. What was it?
Right, yeah.
Stranger Things?
Upside down. Actually, they're still paying me royalties for that.
Joel, can we see your tattoo? Which number are you?
Oh, which number are you?
I'm number 1, son. Look.
Jeez.
So, Joel, you're in Brooklyn. Is that correct?
Yes.
And have you always lived in Brooklyn? Have you been there your whole life, or did you go there for professional reasons?
I didn't go to Brooklyn specifically for professional reasons.
A lot of people do, Joel.
What is wrong with
Brooklyn?
Brooklyn? Come on.
Brooklyn's awesome.
No, I was born in London, spent part of my childhood there, and then moved to Israel. And I came here for school to New York, and Brooklyn for just rent reasons.
All right, cool.
Because it's where you live. I get it.
Yeah, exactly. So London, now you're here, and obviously you moved over for school and then work, and now you're a senior product designer. So how did you get your start in the industry? What did it look like from college to today?
Sure. So it actually started before college. It started when I was 13 or so. I think something like that. Or even before that, I got into coding because I was like a nerdy kid, and that's what my nerdy friends were doing. And so I started with like QBasic, Visual Basic, C++. Got bored of that for a year, and then I learned HTML to make like my first website for a Counter-Strike clan. And so that's kind of how I got into it. I learned Photoshop on the side to make like educational Counter-Strike posters and really embarrassing shit that some people have seen, unfortunately, but kind of my fault. And so since then, I'd been like just learning by myself and getting better. I started making websites for like small businesses and bands, and progressed from there.
Music, bands.
Music.
Yeah, we find so much that the tie-in is somebody started from a band. They started making a website for their band. They make posters promoting the shows. That kind of the same kind of feel.
Do you play an instrument?
Guitar.
I do. Yeah, I play guitar, piano. I used to do some drums.
It's always so funny.
Nice. Do you still have?
Yeah, people are
up on Spotify.
No, please no. I actually just put up on my Instagram story a piece of my music for the first time in my life, and it was fucking nerve-wracking to have it out there.
Yeah.
Is this a family-friendly show? Can I drop F-bombs here?
No, don't fucking say that, please, Joel. We gotta keep the fucking language down.
Cool. Chill the fuck out, Joel.
Yeah.
So it was there. Like I did do the band thing. I also got into Neopets, which you may hear about a lot as well. Yes, Neopets. Yes. So like a ton of people in our industry actually got into it through like this like.
That's the thing with Tamagotchis, right?
Yeah, it's the thing with Tamagotchis, but they put them in like a huge world where you have like a million different activities. I wish shit like this existed today, but like it had like an auction house and its own economy. It was ridiculous. And so they had this website, web page that taught you HTML. Basically, they're like, we don't have the resources to build like a WYSIWYG editor for your like personal site, so just learn HTML. And it was amazing. So a lot of people learned HTML that way. It was really cool. And when I was 14, I built like an intranet for a tech company. That happened. They like a real tech company. It still exists today. They're like
Microsoft.
Do you want to drop the name? Is it
Microsoft? Yeah, they were called like FMR, and they made software for the Israeli stock exchange. And they were like, let's let this 14-year-old kid build our intranet with like huge aqua buttons made in Flash.
Did you get that gig with a peppering of nepotism? Is that how that worked?
Yeah. I mean, that's how it works for sure.
Yeah, that's how the game works.
you gotta get into it, man.
Yeah,
no matter how.
Network. What? So you consider yourself a little bit of a I hate to use the old unicorn kind of deal where you're a product designer and you also develop as well. What's your stack like? What are you developing?
What's my stack like?
What's your stack like?
I'm pretty bad at the following things. So I don't know. I got into it via like HTML, and then I learned PHP. So I could still probably do some PHP.
I'm sorry.
I know thank you. JavaScript, Ruby, Rails. I've been trying to learn some Vue lately. I haven't really put much time into it.
I'm surprised that you learned and used Ruby on Rails. It's very much a children's language, apparently, according to a Vanity Fair article. Have you guys read it? Do you know what I'm talking about?
The Twitter one?
Yeah. There was an article. I'm curious what you think, Joel, as someone who has experienced lots of languages. Ruby on Rails, is it a kind of a what did they say, Janelle, exactly? There was an interesting quote that they used.
I'm not entirely sure, but they basically blamed the entirety of how terrible Twitter is because Ruby on Rails is terrible. Like, essentially.
I mean, I feel like that's fair. Ruby on Rails does come with some like abuse features,
And you have to use crayons to write with it. Yeah.
Yeah, like Nazis really like Ruby on Rails.
Okay.
Wow.
Okay.
Like if you hear React is
probably used by
Nazis,
Nazis.
you hear that Ruby on Rails is used by Nazis, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I hope DHH isn't going to come and just murder me right now. It's live on TV.
Yeah, I heard Stalin prefers it as well.
No, he DHH did respond, and he basically added what's his name? The guy who started Shopify. And that's a $12 billion plus company, and he asked like, so how's your company running? And it's on Ruby on Rails. So yeah,
nice. Was that Paul Boag that did that?
I don't know. I just recognized the Twitter handle, but I didn't remember the name. Which is
Gotcha.
I don't even know Joel as Joel. It's not details or something like that.
Can you explain that, Joel?
You don't know me as Joel, and you don't know my Twitter handle.
What's that mean?
It's like no details, I think.
It's not details. It's bad. No details was what I wanted, and it was taken. But it comes from an Eames quote, which is just the details are not the details; they make the design. Which is like an ironic. It's an ironic name because not details to me just means like yes details.
I get you. All right, that's pretty cool. So, Joel, how did you go from what you were doing to now you're at GitHub? How did you commit and push that?
Sorry, I'm giving you my life story instead of an answer. So,
no, I want your life story, but
I feel like we skipped a big place you worked at though, DigitalOcean.
Oh yeah, let's talk about that.
Well, we haven't gotten there yet. I'm 14 at this point, Brian.
Okay. I thought you started at like 16. I thought it was 16 when they hired
prom.
me.
No, they hired me at 14. I was an early bloomer. Prom.
Jeez.
I saw the bed in the background. I just started, my mind went places.
We're gonna
those that were watching.
Frederick.
Oops, sorry.
So I kept doing this stuff. And then in Israel, we enlist. So I joined the army for 3 years, 2 years, and then paused that. And after that, I joined a web agency, which was really cool. They were like 30 people then, and now they're like the biggest agency in Israel. So I'm taking a bit of credit for that.
Because of me, this guy right here.
Because of me or because I left, I don't know. One of those.
Where in Israel did you live?
Tel Aviv.
Okay. Go on.
Nice. What was the experience like being in the army?
It sucked.
Very army-like, Frederick.
How's that for
I don't know.
Yeah. It was bad. It was a bad experience overall.
Oh, okay.
Concentration face though. Like, it was terrible.
Yeah, I'm just thinking back and getting re-traumatized.
All right, so we're past all that. Let's get to GitHub.
Okay.
I want to hear about GitHub.
What? No, I wanted DigitalOcean.
Okay,
all right.
Jeez.
Let's get to the ocean.
So,
it's one of my favorite companies.
I joined school. I came to New York for school just because I felt like I was a really bad designer, and I was right.
Now he's a product designer.
Yeah. Right, now I'm a really bad product designer. Throughout school, I was working at this startup, and when I finished, that startup kind of had a mini implosion, which resulted in all of us needing jobs. And so at that point, I was hosting my portfolio on like HostMonster or HostGator or something, and it was really slow and it was really bulky, and I felt like if I wanted a job, I needed it to run like really smoothly. And so I found DigitalOcean and I hosted it on there.
It was back when it was more of a pond, right? It was more like Digital Pond at the time.
It was, yeah, it was like smaller. I'm gonna just breeze through that show. It was actually really interesting and serendipitous. So I really enjoyed the process of putting my website on there. It was just like, okay, this is very different, because I'm actually interfacing with a virtual private server. I'm not just using cPanel, and I've never done this. And it was simple, and I didn't expect that to happen. And so I looked at their site, and I saw they were hiring, and they had a really cool hiring page. And so I applied. And at this time, my portfolio kind of went viral, my first one on Designer News and Sidebar and a bunch of things. So the person who ended up hiring me saw my portfolio there, got my application, and because my previous startup and DigitalOcean shares an investor, got an email from one of the investors that I'm looking for a gig. And so
Nice.
all three places kind of ended up converging, and yeah, and it was just like a really nice serendipitous moment, and it worked out.
Dang, dude, that's great. That's a good story. Yeah, you definitely did have a serendipitous story.
Yes.
How I got hired by DigitalOcean. and it's a really great article. His site, by the way, for all our listeners, is an excellent source of inspiration for how to actually have a portfolio, because there's this stuff called writing that accompanies pictures, which is fantastic.
Yeah, my portfolio is it takes a while to get through, for sure.
Now, how did you transition from what sounds like a very code typing, HTML, CSS, Ruby on Rails, and all that goodness to being more of a design oriented, since you currently suck at design? How did that transition occur?
I think I've always kind of been more of a designer. I remember when I was thinking of what to study, I was kind of stuck between graphic design and computer science.
Mm-hmm.
And I ended up going to one of the program heads in Israel at one of like the biggest design schools in Israel. And I showed him my initial portfolio for Parsons, which is acceptjoel.com. It's still up. It's kind of broken, but it's up. And I was like, I'm not sure really if I'm a developer or a designer. And he was like, dude, you're a designer. Like, come on. And I just took that to heart. We're like, okay, sure.
Oh yeah, it is broken.
Oh, right. So like,
what's going on? Oh, there. Whoa.
Brian's looking at the website for those who are listening to this.
You know what? It's actually, I like it. I like it.
Could you describe the experience,
you having
Brian?
trouble
Yeah, it's like it's a bunch of drawings. Apparently, you're supposed to fall in love with his portfolio, and he wants you to get to know him. Make sure get in touch with him. These steps are very weird, and then tell him he's in, but to leave his ego at home.
So,
yeah, the big ego problem.
I feel like I'm pretty brave for keeping that up there, even though it's crashed. Right now, it used to scroll. I haven't fixed that yet, but if you remove like overflow auto or overflow hidden from it, you can actually see the entire site, and it's pretty ridiculous.
Ah, nice. That's a good little insight.
Site.
I think it's good to show your work from what you did in the past, and where you've been and where you're going. That's cool. It's good to do that. I think people appreciate it. Yeah.
So I used to suck. I suck less.
Hey, we all grow, and that was just your way of growing and your path you took. So, but I know I see Frederick like bouncing in his seat right now. He like really wants to hear about GitHub. So yeah. So how did you transition more into designer role once you joined DigitalOcean? Then how did you end up getting to which he does have an article about it, everyone, on his site, and we'll link to that, about how he got a job at GitHub too. He likes to write about how he gets jobs. Which is good.
Maybe it's helpful.
Yeah, it is, definitely.
So to be clear, I've always been a designer. Like every gig I've had has been as a designer, not as an engineer, because I've been okay at developing, but it's definitely been my stronger suit always. So I joined DigitalOcean as a designer. After a year, I started leading the product design org, and did that for the next 2 years. And then when I was kind of ready for my next move, I saw like Diana Mounter posting a GitHub role that was open. And I think just having worked at a developer tools company for the past 3 years, and having the skill set that I have kind of set me up for like easy access to the role. I don't know if that's the right word, but like the deck was stacked in my favor for sure. Yeah, not the most interesting story, but like once once there, I can just say it's like the best role I've ever had. It's amazing at GitHub.
So what are you doing there? What's your day-to-day like?
Yeah, it varies a lot, and that's kind of part of what I like about the role. So I do a lot of stuff. The area of my responsibility is code, which is a pretty vague way of saying just like anything that has to do with code review and PRs and repos, right? That's kind of my jam. And then we have other designers working on different things like work and our project feature and profiles and social stuff for open source and a lot of different things. But I work on the code part.
Cool. Yeah, they really need to fix the whole project team. That stuff is so confusing. There's no onboarding in that, by the way. So I know you like to get feature requests and bug reports on Twitter. So I'm just going to...
Yeah, you'll take care of those, right?
My Twitter is now the official channel for all the bug reports.
I saw that. Yeah. But we're talking about a tweet that was... I think Max Stower, how do you say his name? Tweeted at him about that someone should actually message you, Joel, about a feature or bug request, and Joel's like, no, don't do that.
I feel like Max was coming from such a good place.
He was.
And he felt so bad when I was like, please don't come to me with your bug.
Oh, that's funny.
So speaking of bug requests, sorry about that. I don't have any bug requests or fixes at all. But how do you feel about like product kind of changers, like refined GitHub, for example, where it kind of like manipulates your design?
Sorry, you broke up a bit for me there.
Oh, sad day. I feel like that happens like way too often. So how do you feel about things like refined GitHub that kind of alter your designs to kind of make that developer's life maybe a little bit easier or harder, or what is your opinion on it?
Sure. So you broke up again. I'm sorry. I don't know if it's me, but I think what you're asking is like all the like Chrome add-ons and stuff for GitHub that kind of change. I think it's great. I've definitely had some people like in that tweet specifically or another, people have come to me with bugs and they're like, oh, it's the Chrome add-on. Sorry, like it's my bad.
Oh, that's funny.
I really like the idea of tweaking something to make it fit your workflow. And as a designer, especially for a company that caters to developers who have like infinite amount of workflows, right? Different ways of structuring their repo, different ways of doing code review, different ways of just anything, right? Different ways of inviting different people. The repo itself is going to include different kinds of things like code or documents or whatever. Different like, branch-based workflows of like some people do trunk-based development, some people do various other things. I'm never going to hit on all of that stuff. I can try my best, right? But the workflow is always going to be slightly better for something and slightly worse for something else. And so when someone gets a Chrome extension to make GitHub, like my product, good for them, what's not to love? I don't know. And sometimes these things have like really good ideas. This hasn't happened yet, but I'm sure like, well, actually, maybe it has. It hasn't happened to me yet. But looking at this stuff and being like, oh, that's actually a pretty good solution, or that at least points at this being a problem worth solving, because enough people have wanted it. So it is literally a Chrome extension that is used. So even if we end up solving it in a different way, it at least gave us this idea of, oh, people actually need this. I think it's great. I think it's really good. I'm not one of those like pedestal designers or something that's like, this is my work. Do not like, here's the style guide for GitHub. Like, do not use this design in this way. I don't know. I'm really just, my job is making life better for developers. And if something can help me do that, like, Yeah, great.
And it was a UX Defender podcast episode, which we seem to talk about his show all the time on here, I've noticed. But he interviewed, I can't remember which of the Macaw people, but he interviewed one of them, and I'll find it and link it in the show notes. But the guy that was on the show, which again, I'll link that in the show notes, who it was. He talked about working at InVision, because they moved to InVision, and how their customers are designers, and how when there's a feature that they want or a problem that they're having, like the customers will actually send them like basically case studies about, hey, this is the problem I am having, this is how I'd solve it. And I feel like with GitHub, it's a similar thing. Like this is a developer, he built an extension, it improves GitHub. So these people are like, hey, this will make it better for me. And you guys can see that, and you may or may not agree with the solutions. You may have a different one in the pipeline, but I definitely think it's pretty awesome that that sort of stuff occurs.
Yeah, it's a passionate community, and it's all data points. I always find them useful.
So one thing we wanted to talk about was what is a product designer, and kind of how do you make that? How would you, a new designer coming into the field, how do they make that journey?
Sure. So a product designer, that's just a title we stole from industrial designers, and now they can't call themselves that. Every industrial designer I've talked to is so pissed at me for that when I tell them what I am. But it includes kind of the same things. So before this, we were like interaction designers, or UX designers, or web designers, or whatever else. Experience designers. I think product design fits the current roles that are expected from designers in tech, because we're not just expected to work on the design side of things, right? We're not just expected to make things look nice, which was what happened a lot in the past. We're not just expected to work on like fancy interaction patterns, or not even just flows, right? We're expected to think about strategy, right? Strategy and usability and all of this other stuff, even like figuring out conversion, figuring out like pricing models, right? There's a lot of breadth to our roles now. And like industrial designers who are just not just like, hey, I'm going to sketch this like nice isometric watch or whatever on a notepad, they're also expected to think about material and ergonomics, and like make sure make sure like the margins are sound on like how much this thing will cost to actually make, and how these different things interact with each other. That level of thoroughness, I think, is something that is expected from us now, and so product designer kind of fits in there.
It's interesting. I just watched this. I don't know if anybody else saw the movie Design Disruptors. Have you seen that, Joel?
I have.
Yeah. So I've been meaning to watch it for a long time, and I finally got to watch it the other day. And I love the way that they broke down the 4 tiers of design. I wrote this down because I think it really resonates, and it's a easy way to explain things for beginners. Where you have visual design is what things look like. User interface design is where you, interface design is the bits and where all those bits go. UX is can people use this thing? And then product design, they say, are we even building the right thing? Does it fit in the context of our product as well as someone's life? What do you think about that?
Yeah. I mean, all of that. So it's just a framework, right? So it's breaking up the responsibilities in a certain way. Just like, okay, there's 4 categories of them. I think they can be broken up in like a ton of ways. But I agree with all of those responsibilities, right? All of those things are things that we as modern product designers need to think about and are expected to think about.
What about product designers or people aspiring to be a product designer that I think one of the big questions that always comes up is, what app should I use? Or is there a certain kind of application? Do I use Sketch for this? And do I use, I don't know, Marvel for that? So what do you think about those kind of questions?
Yeah, I only hire designers who use Sketch.
No, exactly right.
I thought the answer was phase, actually.
Yeah. Why? It's interesting though that's a real question, and they want to know like what's the app.
Well, I mean, it's Photoshop. No, it's
they all work. They're all tools.
Yeah, they're all tools.
That's exactly the right answer.
Especially now. Right? When every day you wake up to like a tweet of like, this is the last design tool you'll ever need.
I love that one.
It's just like, why even focus on a tool at that point? Because they're all gonna die, probably. Like they're all gonna die at some point. If I look at
Photoshop, Photoshop will never.
Yeah, Photoshop doesn't die, but if you think about it in the context of interaction design, Photoshop is dead. Like it's dead. It's as dead as fireworks almost. There are still people using it, right? But they use it mostly for
people using fireworks.
Yeah, there are.
And I get them. No, so with Photoshop, like you're mostly using it for visual mock-ups, right? Or like quick mocks because it's easy to like work with pixels there. Mostly people have shifted over to Sketch. Some people have shifted over to Figma. Like one of them is probably gonna win, right? They do the same stuff. There's new design tools every day. There's like InVision Studio that does slightly different things. There's Framer Studio, slightly different things. And like if you focus on one and you spend all your time like getting really good at the tool, then it's slightly, I would call that a bit of a waste of time, because you're getting. Sorry, I take that back. It's not a waste of time. It does save you time in the short term.
You heard it here, guys. Joel said it's a waste of time.
That's going to be the quote for the tweet.
Yeah, that'll be the name of the episode. It's a waste of time.
So it's a waste of time. Don't get into design. It's a waste.
It's a waste of time.
Well, I mean, they're all tools. I mean, if you learn how to draw a vector shape in Illustrator, you learn how to do it in Sketch, you learn how to do it in Framer. Now, the same process works in all of them. Pick one, use it, move on.
Yeah.
Probably your best tool is paper and pen.
Well, I prefer pencil and paper.
Oh yeah, is that because you make a lot of mistakes and you need the eraser?
Yeah,
I just do finger paintings.
Yeah, finger painting.
I like Crayola.
Yeah, I could get into some Crayola for sure. So,
hey,
I actually have a talk about this about
Crayola.
About Crayola, yeah. It's 2 hours. I dive into like the history and the historical context. Anyway, Crayola. No. What's your favorite Crayola? No, I'm joking.
Basically about thinking visually with pen and paper before.
No. About deciding what skills to learn. So the talk's called Full Stack Anxiety. I've done it like a bunch of places around the world now, and it's really about how to navigate entering a new field, especially a field like product design or engineering that is gonna require you to learn like a bunch of different stuff. Every individual person has a different, like the way you called it, a stack, right? Because like me being a designer doesn't mean I know this box of things. It means I know a variety of things out of like the entire world of things that exists. And no two designers have the exact same skill set. Because it could be like motion design, and it could be like VR or 3D, and it could be like, designing like audio interfaces. It could be like any number of things. And that's really paralyzing for someone who's just coming in and it's like, oh my God, like there's so many things. What do I learn first?
Yeah, what language do I look at? Should I start with WordPress? Should I just jump into React? What do I do?
Yeah,
all of them. You must learn all of them or you will fail in the industry.
At once.
So,
And
super selfish question.
yeah,
Can we have like a link to that? Because like
I have it in the show notes.
Oh,
For sure.
perfect. Because I need it in my life every day.
cool. I will send you a link.
Scroll down.
Yes.
Yeah, scroll down. Wait, are there show notes?
What is wrong with me?
Yes, Brian's
Oh,
taking
I'm
notes
the-
as we're doing it.
I'm the show notes master.
Oh, is that really it?
Yeah.
I'm just scrolling through the show notes that people who are tuning in can't see.
These are really incredible too. There's
Wait.
like drawn comics that Frederick does inside them.
And if
Oh,
you
there's
a
sponsor the show and become a Patreon sponsor, you get just for $1, you get access to all the show notes for that month.
Yeah.
Just throwing that out there. Patreon.com/ThunderNerds.
Oh, you have a better URL? Cool. Thanks, Joel.
It's I did it better over here.
Okay.
So go into that a
I
little
make
bit
like
more,
a
Joel. Like,
famous
what is the what do you say at the end? What's on the last page? What are you telling people to do?
Well, it's a framework, right? It's just a way of thinking. It's like 6 steps that are a way of thinking about what to learn, and they're mostly about introspection. So they're about like, A, what do you want and why do you want it? So you want to be a product designer. What kind of product designer can you be? And then it's a matter of just like talking to product designers, to a variety of them, and seeing what kind of it scratches your itches. And then it's doing research and figuring out what skills each role requires. So like, I want to be a product designer at a place like Airbnb, for instance. What do product designers there, I think they call themselves experience designers, but what is like a common denominator between people who get hired there? And what do their job postings require? And can I talk to a bunch of them and see what they value? And then once I know what they value, and once I have like more of a list for myself, how can I break that down into stuff that is, so for instance, we were talking about tools, right? Like, should I learn Sketch? In the talk, I say, that's a waste of time. No, in the talk, I say like, it is more a waste of time to learn a tool than a transferable skill, like the right way to think, right? So if I was an engineer, I would prioritize learning design patterns above learning JavaScript, right? Because all of this stuff, you can build software in any different language, and as long as you have that transferable skill, you'll be fine.
So learn the process, not the tools, basically, or
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, you should learn the tool, but you should learn it knowing that the tool isn't going to be there forever. Yeah, just that. And so it's those things, those pieces of advice, and then like a bunch of other various pieces of advice that kind of fit together to form maybe an idea of how to step forward and get the job you want.
Now, did you do this because you yourself kind of felt the anxiety, that you felt overwhelmed? Like, why did you decide to do this talk?
So I was starting to, so it came out of a tweet. I just tweeted the term full stack anxiety because I was trying to figure out, I was learning, I think, React. And then I caught myself and I'm like, shit, like, why am I learning React and not like better user research methodologies or whatever? Like, I'm a designer, why am I doing this? And so that feeling, I just called it full stack anxiety. The feeling of like, there's so many things I can learn that are relevant to what I'm doing. How the fuck do I choose?
Yeah, and then it also adds in your anxiety with the imposter syndrome. It feeds into that too as well.
Yeah, for sure, exactly. And I talked about this a bunch of times. I mentioned it on like a design details. I did like a panel in New York, and people really resonated with it. And I was like, okay, maybe I should make this a blog post. And I started writing it, and I was gonna make a dumb joke, and it didn't really flow well in a blog post. And so for that single dumb joke, I was like, maybe this would work better as a talk, just so I could include this dumb joke. And so I made it a talk, and the rest is history.
See, now everyone has to watch it because there's apparently an amazing joke in it.
But
Don't give the joke away.
it's a joke.
No, don't give it away. People have to watch it.
Yeah, okay, you should watch it.
So, I have a question. What is the difference between, a senior product designer and just a product designer? How do you get to that senior kind of role?
It's age, clearly. Jeez.
Yeah, you just so you become a product designer, and then you just wait.
Heard. Doing it.
What do you tell people that are getting into the industry and they're a product designer and they aspire to be a little bit more, whether it's they want to bump up their income or whatnot, they just want to advance their career because they feel like they deserve it?
Yeah, so I think senior mostly comes with experience. It's so when I said wait, that was a joke, but it's kind of true. So like, as you work as a product designer, you're interfacing with more and more people. You learn how to work with engineers. You learn how to work with product. You see projects taking the wrong turn, and you start being able to identify those things. You spend enough time with a product to kind of see the high level view of it and see how different things fit together. You maybe start talking to finance at some point and see how like the product affects that. And so it's just like an amalgamation of all of these experiences that make it easier for you to kind of take a step back and work at a higher level. But I think in most places, and when I put the levels together at DigitalOcean, the difference between these roles was scope. So as a product designer, you're usually working on one thing, which is just like, hey, I'm going to implement this feature into the product and I'm going to focus on it. And you could be a super talented product designer, but it'll be that one thing. And I think the expectation in most places from designers that are higher up in the levels, like the IC levels, is to start working on things that are a slightly higher level, maybe like more strategic, maybe things that fit all these various features together in like a product area, things that require you to rally people across different departments, maybe take more of a leadership role that you are able to do because you've seen how things function and you have more insight into that.
That's interesting you say that. I saw a talk with Andy Law the other day, or maybe I heard it on a podcast. Either way, he was saying, even if you're not being paid to be a senior level or a management level, start taking ownership. If that's what you feel is in your heart, where you want to be, if you want to start taking ownership of these things, go ahead and do that. And eventually, the titles will come, the salary will come, people will recognize, you'll get the recognition for what you're doing. But if you want to take that ownership, it requires you to take that step.
Yeah, no, 100%. Like, I wouldn't wait for permission for any of this stuff. It's really useful when you work in an organization that has articulated levels. They're like, these are the expectations from you specifically in order to be promoted to this level. Putting those together thoughtfully is difficult. It took us a long time to get those done at DigitalOcean. I've seen a lot of organizations that just don't have them, even when they get to sizes of like hundreds and hundreds of employees. But even if you don't have that, you could look, I know like BuzzFeed have open sourced their levels, looking at kind of where you slot in there, maybe seeing your weaknesses and trying to hit the senior levels, and trying to execute on that level, just like constantly, like check yourself against that. I have a thing, a Slack reminder, literally every month I get pinged with like a link to our levels with a question like, are you living up to these?
That's amazing.
Do you respond back? Do you respond back to it?
Yeah, Slackbot's like, dude, shut up.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I would say too to people that think that they are interested in that, like becoming a senior product designer, or becoming a product designer versus one of the other many roles like working in UX or just UI design. I mean, make sure that's what you want, because there's a difference between, I guess, working in the trenches and being the general or the captain that's kind of helping to guide it a lot. You may not, in some cases, depending where you work, you may switch from being in Sketch all day to, whiteboarding or being in meetings, or there's a big difference. It depends upon the organization. They're all different, but make sure you understand what role you're stepping into. But speaking of roles we're stepping into and things stepping into, let's step into the spotlight.
Boom, transition.
Yeah.
That was a good one.
We're getting towards the end of the show, Joel, so we have a few last questions. We're each going to ask one for you. Mine's kind of a more fun thing. It's a group question. We're going to go first. You get a moment to think about it yourself. It's kind of a spotlight. It's what's going on, what you like. Could be anything. I always say meatloaf recipe. It could be an awesome meatloaf recipe, Alton Brown. It could be some tech thing. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't have to be tech though. Mine happens to be tech. And normally I'm not an app. Well, I guess I can't say that, but I'm not an app switcher. I'm not an app switcher though. I don't like on my phone. I pick an app. I tend to stick with it. But this is one yes, Frederick's shaking his head, and that's not correct. Anyway, Focus. It's a photo app called Focus, which you can see the fun little. Maybe you can. Our video people. Okay, maybe not. But it's a camera app, and what's really my camera can't focus on Focus. It's a camera app that takes advantage of iOS on iPhone's dual cameras and takes the depth information. And you can edit it, change what the camera filter lens would be. It's just an awesome app. It's called Focus. It's spelled Focos, and we'll have it in the show notes. But that's my pick. It's really cool. It's fun. Frederick can go next.
I would love to go next. I guess my big thing is it was my birthday last week or this week. Yeah, this week on Monday, and I don't know. And I got the new Apple Watch, and I'm loving it. It's really, really nice. I never had an Apple Watch before, and it's a super cool experience. And it's a lot of fun. It's cool to run with. Control Spotify with something like that, and I keep my phone in my backpack. Anyway, that's mine.
How's battery life going for you?
See, the battery life on the Series 3 is excellent. So full day after a full night charge, 63% by like 11 o'clock.
PM? 11 p.m.?
PM, yeah.
Okay, cool. Not bad. Janelle?
All right, so mine is totally not tech related, and you all will probably laugh. But I lose my phone all of the time. It's very frustrating. So a lot of the times when people will text me, I won't text them back for hours because I can't find my phone. So I've found that there's this app called Wish that I've been using for a while that you could basically buy whatever you want for like 12 cents. But I buy really brightly colored food shaped cases for my phone, I never lose my phone. So here's my awesome food shaped case.
Oh, dude, that's awesome.
It's a popsicle for all our audio listeners, and it looks like it's partially melted popsicle.
Yeah, there's like a bite out of it. I need that in my life. I want that. I need that exact same one. That's tight. I love that.
What's the company that's selling them?
It's called wish.com, or it's also an app. So, yeah.
Oh,
they also have hot dogs.
Stickers that you had that you were texting me with?
No, that's 7-Eleven.
That kind of is. That kind of is tech related. That's kind of tech related.
Yeah.
Phone.
Fair enough.
All right,
Joel. Punching Nazis.
That's what? How is that your pick?
That's my pick. I recommend it. No, I saw Black Panther yesterday, and it's amazing, and everyone should watch it.
Yeah, I can't believe that it's yet another movie that Samuel L. Jackson was in.
He's amazing. What are you talking
He
about?
wasn't in it.
He's
He
not in
wasn't-
it.
I was just kidding. But see,
All I just
you
said, he
believed
is
it.
amazing.
You believed it for a
Yeah,
second.
he was in every movie pretty
He's
much,
amazing. What are you talking about?
That's funny. I saw the last, or the first movie rather, that he was ever in last night, which was, if anybody knows, his very first movie,
No, I don't know.
Coming to America.
Oh, was he in that?
He was in Coming to America. He was the guy that ran in, that shot the gun and was going to rob McDowell's.
I haven't seen it.
I don't remember.
Haven't seen Coming to America with Eddie Murphy?
It's ridiculous.
It's like really, the best movie ever.
No, it's not. It's really ridiculous.
Movie, you're nuts.
Frozen is the best movie ever.
Oh,
What are you
geez.
talking about?
But
That movie did make me cry a lot.
Oh god.
All right, so
Totally kidding.
I think it's my turn. My question.
I want to know about Black Panther. One quick question for him. Where do you rank it in the Marvel movies you've seen? Like,
Probably top 3.
Wow.
Wow. All right.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
that's
hear a
good.
lot of good things about it.
right on. Okay, I'm done.
My question, Joel, if you could not be around a computer, what would you be doing professionally? How'd you make that money?
No cash.
How'd you make that cream, son? Couldn't be around a computer.
Well, I wouldn't be making as much.
I didn't say you'd be making much. I'm just asking you, if you did
I'd
not
probably
have
be
a
like
computer,
a-
what would you be doing?
Starving musician, probably.
A good musician?
No,
he's starving. So I mean,
There's a lot
I
of
would-
good starving musicians, Brian.
that's true.
I don't know if I had like the time to put into it, and I would be probably decent, decent musician.
Okay, yeah. You got to give
I
us
could
a
probably
link to
buy
some of
like
this music, man.
enough ramen.
If you
I
give us a
feel
link, we're going to search and we're going to find it, and it's going in the show notes.
no. I feel like we need a live performance.
Where's your guitar, Joel?
Unless
You'll be the third person to play guitar on the show.
I'm not. I'm gonna
you
not
have an
be the
accordion.
third person.
If you have an accordion, we've had one of those too.
Yeah, we have, actually. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, yes.
That was it.
Maybe we need a link to that, too.
Yeah, well,
That's
we
one of
can
my
do that. It's
favorite.
hilarious.
Yeah. All right, that's my question. Janelle?
All right, my question is, would you prefer someone say tomato or tomato?
So I heard. Would you prefer someone say tomato or?
It happens every time. Every time.
Tomato.
What's the other one? Is it tomato?
Or tomato.
Yes. I'm
I
never
feel like
gonna
we're calling
ask
the
questions.
whole thing off right now.
No, you need to up your internet. That's what's going on.
Yeah,
That's my life, like my whole life.
Does
It's-
anyone actually prefer tomato? Is that a thing?
I've never really heard anyone say it, so I don't even know.
You know
why
what's
this
good?
is
If
ever
you
a question.
put fish in tomato soup. Have you ever tried that? Like
No.
a fish, like the cracker fish. It's pretty good.
Now you've heard someone say it.
Yeah, goldfish in tomato soup.
Oh, that makes sense. I was thinking actual fish until just now.
Yeah. that
No,
was
don't
the-
be gross,
not
Joel. God, Joel.
I don't know. You know, like weird.
No, Joel,
Where?
stop that. Joel, we're at the end of the show, and I want to ask if you have any kind of parting words, any kind of advice, anything you want to share with our audience before we bid you adieu.
Yeah. Sure. Parting advice. So
It
number
could be
one.
advice, could just be words, whatever.
Okay, yeah. These are gonna be both.
Love it.
Both advice and words. So I think like the number one piece of advice I tend to give people is I was raised in Israel, and Israelis have a way of going about things which is sometimes not the most comfortable for other people, but it includes being really creative about the way we get things done. And part of that is kind of not accepting boundaries as dogma. I'm trying to like articulate this on the spot. But generally, when you think that something is impossible, that doesn't necessarily mean it is. When like a role doesn't exist, it doesn't mean you can't create it. When I'm blanking on other examples.
Well, I think you're trying to say something about along the lines of Ben Franklin's quote, where every problem is a opportunity in disguise.
Yeah, I mean it's similar to that. I just think like the world is set up in a certain way, right? And like there is a reality that you have to deal with, but very often that reality is not set in stone, right? For instance, it's like you could accept the price that you get on a car lease or something, or you could try and haggle it down. And like 9 times out of 10, you can get half price. It's kind of that stuff is either accepting the deck you're given as like concrete versus understanding that other things exist there, like around that. Maybe not the best or most obvious advice to give at the end of this.
Wow.
But I know, for instance, like when I was at school, I got like a curriculum, and that curriculum was like, okay, in order to study design and technology, this is what you have to study, period. And you can't like, there's no wiggle room. And just by like asking and like changing stuff, just by asking, they let me change stuff. And I ended up learning like color theory and typography and like grid systems and other stuff that wasn't really part of my degree, because I felt I could, even though everyone told me I couldn't. And so that's the advice, is just like not accepting no, in some contexts, not in all of them, obviously. But it's understanding that sometimes asking is enough to unlock stuff that wouldn't be there otherwise.
Yeah, that's great advice.
Yeah, go beyond the minimum.
Yeah, try to take ownership. Excellent. Well, hey, Joel, we're at the end. What's the best way people could get a hold of you and to find out more about you?
Yeah, so there's my website and my blog, so joelcalifa.com, and follow me on Twitter.
There you go. And your Twitter handle is?
It's twitter.com/
all of Twitter.
Details. So NOTDETAILS.
You heard it here. Nice. Well, hey, man, thank you so much for being on a show. Super appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. All right. Well, hey, thanks a lot. See ya.